And that figure is Dan Magill. Title is title to be confirmed. Title to be confirmed. Dan Magill.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? All good? Have we got any TikTokers in the room tonight? TikTokers? No. Online? Well, that's that speech ruined, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. No. The reason I ask is there's a new trend on TikTok. It's called the teenage filter. And what you do is you look into the camera on your phone, you turn on the filter, and suddenly on the screen in front of you, there will be a living, breathing teenage version of you. Now, it was actually my teenage daughter, Emily, who introduced me to this. She said, "Dad, you should give it a go. It'll remind you what you look like before all the wrinkles." I said, "I'm sorry, Emily." I said, "I don't have wrinkles." I said, "I could pass for one of Harry Potter's classmates." She said, "Dad, I'm not being rude, but you're more like one of the frogs from Beatrix Potter." Anyway, I gave it a go. And the moment my 15-year-old self popped up on the screen, I smiled. But then I was hit by feelings of guilt and regret, like somehow I'd let down this young person. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm 7 years old. I'm at school, and our teacher, Mrs. Fitzpatrick, and an older lady who was forever engulfed in a cloud of her own cigarette smoke, she's lined us all up at the front of the class. And now she's going along the line, one by one, predicting what we will become when we grow up, like she's some kind of psychic. I remember she told 2 girls that they would grow up to become princesses. Fine. But then she told a poor chap called Barry Carmichael she could see him spending a lot of his adult life in prison, which was very cruel because they let him out after 15 years. And then it was my turn for the Mrs. Fitzpatrick treatment. Daniel Magill, Daniel Magill. Sounds like an author's name. Daniel, you're going to be a writer of great stories when you grow up. It was a brave prediction because I remember even that morning I'd managed to spell cat with 2 R's. But it turned out she was right. By the time I was 15, I was forever scribbling down short stories and dreaming of having them published one day. But then, well, you know, life sets in, doesn't it? I got a job, I had bills to pay, I put the pen down, and the author inside me just faded away. Until one day, a few years ago, I was actually in a Toastmaster meeting and somebody was giving a speech titled, "How to Write Your First Book in 12 Days. Yeah, I don't know which pathway it was from, maybe delusional strategies or persuasive insanity, one of them. It was probably the worst speech I'd ever heard. It was terrible. I know. But as I said in my evaluation later that evening, I said, that was one of the best speeches I've ever heard. Brilliant. And it awoke something in me. I decided that I did want to become an author. The problem was I didn't really have any good ideas. So I Googled, how do all the best writers get started? And the top result was for J.K. Rowling. It said that J.K., she'd been a single mum in her mid-20s. She was living off benefits, and she'd been rejected by book publishers time after time after time. And then one day, on a train from Manchester in the UK to London, she had the idea for Harry Potter. And I thought, what an inspirational story. I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I booked a train from Manchester to London. And it worked. It worked. I had a great idea. Emily, my daughter, was as cynical as ever. She said, "Dad, I'm not being rude, but that idea wouldn't pass even a basic plagiarism test. Would you like to hear the idea?" I think it's fine. Here we go. A bespectacled teenage girl heads off to boarding school where she discovers she has magical powers and an uncanny ability to play golf on a broomstick. Plagiarism. What plagiarism? I was ready to write. Got so excited. I bought myself a new pen. I created a vision board. I even booked myself a flight to Canada in the winter so I could go away and focus. Carpe diem, I said to myself, which is a Latin phrase that means fingers crossed. And I went. Day one was fabulous. I managed to write more than 1,000 words of the first Sally Trotter adventure. Day two, I'm about to start writing and I realize I've run out of wine. Now that should have been a red flag because I'd only opened the bottle for breakfast. There was a Costco across the street, but there was also a blizzard outside and it was minus 27 degrees. So I had two options. Option one, forget the wine, sit down at my desk and get on with my writing. Option two, head out into the blizzard and maybe die. Which option do you think I chose? The blizzard, yeah. What option two? I went with option three. I flew to Mexico. I spent the next 2 weeks passed out on a beach, and I haven't written a word since. Carpe tequila, which is a Latin phrase that means seize the hangover. I don't know if you agree, but for me, that's what being an adult's all about. It's about failing. It's about giving up. It's about being rejected. It's about spending too much time on TikTok, Tinder, and Twitter. It's about guzzling too much wine for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But most importantly, it's about always believing that all that can change at any moment. The next chapter isn't written yet. None of the chapters are written yet. The title of our lives is To Be Confirmed. And as the great Mrs. Fitzpatrick would always say to us, children, your future is like my bottle of water here. You've got no idea what's really in it. Thank you.